there's a debate about the natural qualities of Venus in terms of the elements. Some people say that Venus is hot and moist. Some people say it's cold and moist. There's an article on my website explaining my reasoning why I think Venus is a particular way. You can visit it. There is a link in the description below and a link to a few other articles clarifying a number of things about it. Recently, I made the information in Richard Saunders' book into table format so that it's easy to consult and process that information about the quality of each planet in each sign and degree of the zodiac, so that we can perform diagnosis using horary. It's a gem of knowledge that came down to us from the 17th century. It was published by Richard Saunders, who was a medical astrologer back then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two planets, Jupiter and the Moon. One is a hot and moist planet. The Moon, we all agree, I suppose, it's cold and moist. And I'm going to analyze their behavior in two signs, in a hot and moist sign and in a cold and moist sign. And then at the end, we're going to look at Venus and see if Venus behaves like the Moon or Jupiter. And that will tell us if Venus is hot and moist or cold and moist. So let's get into it. What you can see on the screen is a section of the tables that can be found on my website. And the main idea behind those tables is that each planet will behave differently in different signs of the zodiac. As the planets progress through the zodiac, the degree of intensity of the elements increases. So, for example, Aries is a hot and dry sign, and Leo will be hotter and drier than Aries, and Sagittarius will be even hotter and drier than Leo and Aries, and so on for all of the elements and signs. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to deal only with Jupiter, the Moon, and Venus, and we're going to limit ourselves to just two signs. So, Jupiter is a hot and moist planet. Libra is a hot and moist sign. If we place Jupiter between 0 and 6 degrees of Libra, Jupiter will become hot in the second degree and will become moist in the second degree. So, suppose Jupiter is not in the zodiac, it's resting somewhere, and it's simply hot and moist. But as we place a planet in the zodiac, it begins to change its characteristics. In Libra, it becomes hot in the second degree and moist in the second degree. Now let's look at the Moon. The Moon is a cold and moist planet, and Libra is a hot and moist sign. So if we place the Moon between 0 and 6 degrees of Libra, it's going to become hot in the first degree and moist in the second degree. If we compare the Moon with Jupiter in Libra, we see that the Moon and Jupiter have moisture in common. They're both moist planets, so they become moist in the second degree, both of them. If they are early in the zodiac, they will become moist in the first degree, and later in the zodiac, in Aquarius for example, they will become moist in the third or fourth degree. The point is that they become equally moist in the same degree. Okay, so second degree in this case. However, in relation to heat, Jupiter gets hot in the second degree in this place in Libra, and the Moon gets hot in the first degree. So the Moon gets less hot than Jupiter. And the reason obviously is because Jupiter has heat already, so it becomes hotter in a hot sign. And the Moon, since it does not have any heat, becomes less hot in a hot sign. The coldness from the Moon counterbalances the heat of Libra, so it becomes hot in the 1st degree, while Jupiter 2nd degree. So that's the logic, basically. This applies to every planet and every sign and every element in the zodiac. If you analyze these tables in more detail, you will see these patterns repeating themselves all over the place. Now let's take a look at how they behave in a cold and moist sign, which is going to show a similar pattern, but in a different way related to the elemental qualities. Jupiter is a hot and moist planet. In a cold and moist sign, it becomes cold in the 1st degree and moist in the 2nd degree. So Scorpio is a moist sign, so it will become moist in the 2nd degree just like before. And if we look at the moon, it will also become moist in the 2nd degree, just like before. So they have moisture in common, Jupiter and the moon, so they will become moist just as before. However, in terms of heat, Jupiter is a hot planet, will become cold in the 1st degree. The heat from Jupiter will counterbalance the coldness of Scorpio and will become cold in the 1st degree. But the moon, being a cold planet in a cold sign, will become cold in the 2nd degree, so it becomes colder than Jupiter. So the moon is a cold planet, becomes colder in a cold sign. Jupiter is a hot planet, it does not become as cold as the moon in a cold sign. So we see how these two planets behave in signs corresponding to each of their natures. Now the debate is about Venus, right? Is Venus hot and moist like Jupiter, or is Venus cold and moist like the moon? Let's see what the table shows us, and that will tell us the answer. So Venus in Libra, which is a hot and moist sign, will become hot in the 1st degree and moist in the 2nd degree. And in Scorpio, which is a cold and moist sign, Venus will become cold in the 2nd degree and moist in the 2nd degree. So which planet behaves like this? The moon or Jupiter? As you can see in the previous analysis, Venus behaves exactly like the moon. So based on this analysis and this information coming from Richard Saunders from the 17th century, Venus is a cold and moist planet. For more information about this and other related subjects, more specifically how to use these tables for humoral or elemental diagnosis, check out the links below to my website and other videos here on the channel. Thanks for stopping by. If you like this type of material, make sure to subscribe and like the video. That helps the algorithm show this to more people and get these ideas out there.